What do a billion-dollar brand, a controversial reality show, and a crying meme all have in common? Kim Kardashian, folks. Now, before you pause this episode and roll your eyes and say, oh no, Mel, have you sold out? WTF is going on here? Why are we talking about Kim K? I want to get something out of the way real quick. Today, we are not talking about scandals, we are not fangirling, and especially we're not bashing because we're not bullies here. We don't do that. We're talking strategy. So I believe that every single person can teach us something about ourselves and, by natural extension, our business, whether we own one or we work for one. I don't care if you are an entrepreneur figuring out, I don't care if you work in an office, I don't care if you are a tomato farmer. Knowledge is power. And we can learn so much from what people and companies and brands do well. Think about it this way. These entities, they can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars on teams to advise their marketing, their brand, their personal image. So if you don't have Kim Kardashian level money, or you're not in charge of a huge budget, if you are, please contact me to sponsor an episode of this podcast. But if not, why wouldn't you try to reverse engineer their biggest successes and failures to benefit yourself? Okay, and that's exactly what we're going to do on today's episode, and I'm doing all of the heavy lifting for you, so you just sit back, you relax, you sip that iced coffee, do that. Hey there, I'm Melody Bose, your host of Jeans with the Blazer, a podcast about rewriting the rules of work and life. So now this brings me to Kim Kardashian, because behind all of the viral memes and the internet chaos is someone who has mastered the art of branding, reinvention, and strategic visibility. So whether you love her or you hate her, there's one thing you cannot do, and that is ignore her. So if you've ever struggled to stand out or build a personal brand, or just want to learn how to add momentum behind your ideas and get people to care about what you're doing, it might not hurt to take notes from the woman who literally broke the internet. Just saying. And if this kind of content interests you and you enjoy this episode after giving it a listen, I've created a whole series exclusively on my YouTube channel, Jeans with a Blazer, same name. And it's in a playlist titled Everything I Know I Got From, insert cultural icon here. And the best part is it's not just celebrities. It also will include historical figures and things like that. So I'll include a link to the playlist in this episode's description, but be sure to check that out if you are not watching this on YouTube and you want more content outside of the weekly podcast. And then while you're on your interwebs, be sure to sign up for the newsletter. I'll also include a link to that. It's kind of like the after party to this podcast, and it's fun. It's stuff that doesn't make it to the mic, and it's just kind of like a little weekly sprinkle of motivation and tomfoolery and mischief. So go do that. Okay, so maybe you've been following Kim and her Kardashian family throughout her career, or if everything has been force-fed to you against your will, here's some pretty interesting facts about her. So Kim Kardashian has a net worth of $1.7 billion as of 2024. She has built a total of 13 businesses. You might be familiar with Skims and KKW fragrance, but other ones you might not be aware of, like the Kardashian card with a K, a prepaid MasterCard that was a total flop. Yes, even Kim herself has failed, and she is not shy about it. We'll talk about that later on. She's consistently ranked as one of the top 100 people with the most Google searches since 2015. Guys, that is not an accident, okay? She worked for Paris Hilton, organizing her closet and selling her stuff on eBay. And she is one of the most followed individuals on Instagram. Currently, this might be outdated, who knows, by a few million. By the time this episode comes out, she has 357 million followers on Instagram. And she's an advocate for prison reform. Cool. Now, there are some things that we can't dispute that also gives her a bit of an advantage. So this doesn't dismiss any of her accomplishments or what she's been a part of, but it would be remiss of me to not address. So we're all about transparency here. Number one, she is, by standard definition of beauty, attractive. And number two, she comes off from a well-off family. Her late father is Robert Kardashian, who was a very successful, accomplished lawyer. If you're familiar with the O.J. Simpson trial, then you know what I'm talking about. So these two things they can make you more likable, they can make you more approachable, they can give you access to opportunities and people, etc., etc., etc. But while genetics and considerable privilege can open doors, I'm not denying that, it's absolutely true, you still have to know what to do once you walk through those doors. Now, I'm not saying if you don't come from extreme wealth and or fit into society's very narrow standards of beauty that you're out of luck. No. There are plenty of rich, attractive people who don't know how to build a brand, launch a product, or stay relevant for more than 5 minutes, and vice versa. But it is those skills and those strategies that you can learn, you don't have to be born with, and you don't have to pay for, that you can apply. And that's what we're dissecting, because the Kim Kardashian brand is many things, but one thing it is not is an accident. I mentioned that before, so let's dig in. Lesson number 1. Consistency builds recognition. So Kim did not accidentally take a selfie, post it on her social media, and oops, overnight she became a world famous celebrity. No, Kim has been in the game for a very long time, more than 20 years, longer than that. So let's do a little time traveling, and can we have like a little time traveling like flashback noise here? Let's go back to 2005. Simpler times. This is a time where pop, R&B, hip hop, and rock were dominating the charts. Think Gwen Stefani with Holla Back Girl and Fall Out Boy, Madonna, things like that. Instagram would not have been invented for another 5 years, if you can believe that. MySpace dominated social media, and unless you ran in the celebrity circle or you were close to the Kardashians, nobody knew who Kim was. Can you imagine a time, think back to a time where that wasn't even a thing? It seems like such a distant time. Anyway, by that time, Kim had her celebrity closet organizing business, and up until a few years prior to that, she worked in her dad's law office. So a couple things here. Through her business, which her target demographic was celebrities, that allowed her more opportunities to run in those celebrity circles. She knew exactly what room she wanted to be in, and she found a way to take her love of high-end fashion and turn it into a pretty successful business. And yes, her family name definitely afforded this. I'm not skipping over that. Let me just have a little sidebar here. Have you ever heard of Anna Delvey from the Netflix show Inventing Anna? She posed as a wealthy German heiress, and she was a con artist who fooled everybody in New York. Crazy scandal. So it just goes to show that if you show up in the right room and you fully believe that you belong there, anything is possible. Okay, so over the next few years after 2005, a few things happen. Yes, a certain piece of media is part of that. I'm not going to elaborate. There's plenty of context on the internet, but on Jeans with the Blazer, we operate from a place of respect and kindness. Moving on. Her and her sisters start the boutique clothing store Dash in 2006. She's on an episode of The Simple Life with Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie in 2006. And during this time, she also pitched stories about herself to editors and In Touch Weekly, but they wouldn't publish her because she wasn't on television yet. She ran in some of those celebrity circles, but she wasn't famous enough to be in a magazine, which at the time, that's where people were still consuming a lot of their media. Insane. So a big thing happens in 2007, Keeping Up with the Kardashians airs. And from the time that is happening, that show is running, up until 2015, she capitalizes on that fame from the show by releasing several fragrances. She releases a music single. Do you guys remember that? No? Weird. She has a couple of high-profile celebrity marriages. She breaks the internet with a very statement-making magazine cover. And she launches her first book, Selfish, a book that's literally 300 selfies of herself. That is the book. It's a coffee table book. So the point I'm trying to make here is Kim is constantly showing up in multiple mediums. She's on television, she's on products, she's on radio waves, she's in headlines for fashion fails, for her celebrity dating life. She's everywhere. Whether you like it or not, girl knows what she was doing. So why does this work? Because repetition creates familiarity. Familiarity breeds trust. And that takes that whole experience and condenses it down to that statement. Of course, it's more complicated than that, But ultimately, that's what it boils down to. Okay, so we're going to add some action steps for you to kind of embody this. So as an individual, choose 3 adjectives that you want people to associate with you, and then audit everything in your life around that, just as like a little experiment. So your social presence, your bio, even how you show up in meetings, how are you reinforcing those adjectives that how you want people to perceive you? Okay. Now, if you are a business or you work for a business, define 3 core brand values. If you're an established business, you should already have these, but make sure, do an audit of how those values are showing up on your website, on your emails, on your packaging, your voice, everything. Consistency beats cleverness in this case. All right, lesson 2, have a team you trust. Now, to say that Kim plotted out her every move and it was all her doing, that would be extremely naive of me to say. It is no secret that her momager, Kris Jenner, the matriarch of the Kardashian-Jenner family, has been behind the scenes for pretty much all of Kim's and the rest of the family's careers. So it's unclear how much of these business moves were orchestrated by Kris Jenner, but it's reasonable to believe that she was involved in a lot of Kim's initial success. She went to producers to pitch the reality show. She booked Kim magazine covers and business deals. It's what a manager does. They manage your career. And Kris picked this up too. That could be a whole episode too, but she started that late in her life. She was not a, manager managing celebrities her whole life. She managed her kids, but she was obviously really good at it. So, of course, Kris is going to look out for Kim's best interest. Kim is her child, literally, and she has a bit of an incentive because she receives 10% of what Kim made and makes. So the point of all of this is why this works. And this is really important. It's because nobody wins alone. Okay. Even if you are the face of your brand, you still need people who do multiple things, who keep you accountable, who offer honest feedback, who bring skills that you don't have, and see the blind spots that you're close enough to not notice. Having a trusted team or even just one person that you can lean on, it makes the decision-making process clearer, execution faster, and growth more sustainable. Action items for individuals. If you can't afford a team yet, put that wallet away. You don't have to do that. You can start with a mentor, so someone who is just a few steps ahead of you of where you want to grow in the direction of that you can learn from. And this could be a past manager, this could be a friend who runs a business, or even a creator whose work that you follow and analyze, right? Next, identify the board of your life, like a board members, not bored like boring, but board members. So who are these 3 people that you trust to give you honest and strategic advice? Start building those relationships now, even if it's informal. And then get clear on your gaps. Ask yourself, what am I not great at? Then look for collaborators, freelancers, or part-time help in those areas where you are ready to invest. And when you eventually get to that point, you'll already know what you need. You'll be prepared for it. Now, for businesses, audit your strengths and gaps. Do you have the right people in the right roles, or just people in roles doing things? Next, build trust, not hierarchy. A strong team isn't just about titles. It's about shared vision and open communication. And then invest in cross-functional collaboration. Ooh, jargon jar. Called myself out on that one. So your marketing lead should understand what your product team is doing. Your brand voice should align with customer service and social and sales. It should all be this ecosystem that operates together cohesively. All right, lesson 3. Monetize the attention, and when you fail, move on. So the lesson here is that Kim has built a brand on attention. She knows that virality is only valuable if it goes somewhere. So whether it is a paparazzi photo, a crying meme, or a viral tweet, she turns moments into movement, and those movements into money. Think about it. That crying meme, the Kim Kardashian ugly cry meme, it became the back of phone cases. I think she even had her own phone case as herself crying before. It became pajamas. It was everywhere. That magazine cover by Paper Magazine where she quote unquote broke the internet, it drove clicks. It drove brand interest for her and the outlet. And things like a family drama episode that is perfect timing to launch a product line or tease a new brand. So use your vehicles of communication. Not everyone has a show. Probably nobody has a show except for the people who have a show. But you can use your outlets to your advantage. Just figure out what those are and then proceed to take action. So in summary, what she does is she takes her clout and she converts it. And that, my friends, is the difference between being famous and being a business. Okay, let's go over failures real quick. So the Kim K card that I mentioned earlier, it was this MasterCard. I think you could preload money on it, but it was big in the early 2000s, well, for a brief time. So it failed for multiple reasons. It had these crazy fees. It didn't just really click with consumers. Kim being a, representation of financial responsibility, that is a bold move, but I don't know if it was the best. But did that stop her? No. She kept moving, okay? She saw that it wasn't working, or her team or her family, whomever, saw that it wasn't working. She could have just, given up there and just, cried herself to sleep and written in her diary at night that her card didn't work out. But no, she pivoted, switched gears, and she kept perfecting what she was good at, what was working for her, beauty, attention, and, business skills. So why attention works. Okay, attention is not the goal, the conversion is. So attention, when strategically directed, can translate into thought leadership, sales, whatever your goals might be. Another important thing to consider, we are living in an era where visibility is everywhere. Okay, anyone can go viral once. Have you heard of Duolingo? If not, look them up. Amazing. Who thought that a language learning app could be such a sensational brand, okay? But if you haven't built a next step after that virality, then that attention disappears just as quickly as it came. So the formula for all of this is attention plus offer plus timing equals revenue. So people are watching you. What is the first thing you want to see? Ask yourself that. Are you giving them a reason to engage or buy after the fact? Kim does not let buzz float in the air. She anchors it into products, partnerships, and platforms that literally make her money while she sleeps. Action steps. Okay, for individuals, check yourself on your own CTA. CTA is a call to action. So when someone lands on your own personal content, do they know what to do next? Figure out what you would want to use your social platforms for. What do you want them to do ultimately? What is the goal? Is it just giving you a follow? Or are you trying to grow a business on there or promote a business? What action do you want them to take to buy a product, to book a call, to email you, to follow you? Make it easy and obvious. Follow for tips on gardening, tomatoes. You sign up for my newsletter, blah, 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 blah. There's a bunch of directions we can go in there, but be clear on what you want them to do when they get there. Next is turning your content into a funnel. So for example, if you post about burnout and that goes viral, create a PDF about burnout or a masterclass or a course where people can go deeper with you. You don't want to let that viral moment, if you happen to create one, just fizzle out, because it will. It'll disappear, like I said, just as quickly as it came. So don't wait to monetize, build as you grow. Even with a very, very small audience, you can create a simple offer and you can leverage that. All right, so switching gears for businesses, you want to build an ecosystem, not a campaign. So going viral is amazing, but where are you sending that traffic? Same game as personal. Make sure that there is a good user experience. Give people a clear landing page, an email opt-in, an easy to buy product or service, and always be prepped for if and or when that wave comes. So let's say your company just takes off, right? Is your backend ready? Do you have the inventory? Do you have the website to maintain that infrastructure? Do you have customer service scripts? These are all things that you would want to think about, whether you're an established business that maybe wants to recheck that, or you're trying to build or grow something. And then, of course, last but certainly not least, you want to ask for the sale, right? It's so important. If you create great content as a business, ask for the sale. Don't just put content out there and hope people will know what to do with it. It's great to put out content that's really high value, but then you want to ask for that. So I have done this. I have made this mistake early in my career of just, focusing on just making content without asking for anything in return. You do not monetize platforms, you monetize audiences. So remember that. And that's all for today's episode. Hope you guys enjoy and catch you next time. That's a wrap on this episode of Jeans with a Blazer. If today's conversation gave you something to think about, a mindset shift, or just the push you needed, do me a favor. Subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Leave a review wherever you enjoy your podcasts. It helps more people find it, and it keeps these conversations going. And I love hearing from you. Follow at Jeans with the Blazer and tag me with your biggest takeaways, your latest wins, or just tell me what topics you want to hear about next. See you next time.